Can I really trust your word? 'Cause I
All right, everybody. Peace, love, respect to everybody out there. This is Info Media Live, and I'm live, everybody. Glad to be here. I want to get into this issue for a short amount of time tonight. I hope everybody's enjoying their Friday night, their weekend coming up. Appreciate you all being here at this time and enjoying your time this evening with me tonight as we get into this whole situation with, the man, Stephen A. Smith is always putting his 2 cents into everything that goes on in this world. This is a man who is supposed to be a sports commentary, give sports commentary on ESPN, First Takes, and now he has decided to dabble himself into all different issues and what have you. And a lot of times black people, black folks are not even asking for this man's opinion half of the damn time. And so every time Stephen A. Smith opens his mouth, he somehow finds a way to put his foot in his mouth. And some would say that his behavior is sort of coonish, and I hate to go there with it, but some people would say that it reminds you of coon-like behavior, you see. And so the man doesn't really have the cachet with the black community as he thinks that he has. He really doesn't have the cachet with the community. And so he had gone in on BET, the award show this past week. Stephen A. Smith fumes at BET Awards for honoring OJ Simpson during and in a memorial segment, and insisted in the eyes of most people he's a double murderer. This is what Stephen A. Smith had to say about it. Now, this whole situation was not just about OJ Simpson. He wasn't the main person that they were focusing on. They had sort of like a slideshow, as you all may know, where they just presented OJ Simpson. And some people agreed with it, some people didn't agree with it, and so on and so forth. But Stephen A. Smith took it a step further by opening up the wounds of the case all over again. And I'm going to say something. Now, I was alive when this whole thing broke down. I was in college, so I was conscious enough to know what was going on. Black people, people always say, well, OJ didn't act like he was for black people. He wasn't, championing black issues. But I think that's not why black people were happy that OJ got off and was acquitted of all charges for the murder of Ron Goldman and Nicole Simpson. I think black people were happy that finally, after all these years in the so-called legal system, that a black person actually beat the system for the first time. That's what black people were really happy about around the OJ Simpson. A lot of people get it twisted is if black people were big fans of OJ. There were black people that were fans of him as a football player. And there were black people that were like through with OJ because they witnessed how he sort of tried to, he got what you call a Negro wake up call, right? He thought that because he played football, because he was acting, and a lot of white folks loved and adored OJ, particularly when he was at USC, as well as playing for the Buffalo Bills. And of course, he played near the end of his career for my San Francisco 49ers. And a lot of people don't realize that OJ Simpson came from what we call the hood in San Francisco, which was the Betrayal Hill area of San Francisco, and even was candid years ago saying that he got most of his speed and running in the NFL because when he was a kid, he was running up those hills in Betrayal Hill, running away from police. A lot of people don't realize that he had said this years and years ago. Now, is OJ a shining example of a black man who became a celebrity and athlete, and that he was, like I said before, very pro-black and was down with black issues? No, that's not what I'm saying. And that's not what most black people, either those black people who want to defend him and say, hey, he was not guilty. When black people are not doing it because they're caught up in being a fan, they're looking at the system, as I said before, that has always been stacked against black people. That's why you had black people that were chanting, that were happy, emotionally overjoyed that he got off on it, not because we thought OJ was some type of black leader. And you're going to hear Stephen A. Smith bring this out about how, well, you know, OJ wasn't trying to be black, right? And to hear Stephen A. Smith make these statements when Stephen A. Smith himself says, again, I'm going to say again, he sometimes talks like he's against the black community. He sometimes or all the time comes off as very coonish, to say the least, everybody. And so that's why it's shocking to me for him to continue giving his commentary that nobody asked for, just like the situation with Will Smith and the whole Bad Boys movie, which has been a hit so far at the box office when all the other movies were not doing well. And then Stephen A. Smith has to bring up the incident with the slap at the Oscars when nobody's talking about that anymore. People have moved on from that. That's like 3 years ago. So he's always clout chasing on these issues. And I contend that he's just clout chasing again when it comes to the issue of OJ Simpson. Now, is OJ a good guy? I'm not sitting up here trying to make excuses for OJ Simpson. I'm not going to hold a banner for OJ Simpson, but we have to understand why most black people were happy with the verdict. A lot of people called it jury notification, like jury, which we call where the jury of which was made up of, black people and other races, that maybe the black jury said, you know what, this time around, let's let a black person win. They didn't care whether it was OJ, a black man that had money and fame or not. The fact of the matter is, as I said, I'm going to emphasize this again. Black people in this country do not get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to these types of issues. We are always stacked up, or the laws are stacked up against us. We have seen white men. Nobody wants to deal with this issue. You have had white men in the past in this country who has historically have taken the lives of black men and women, and then they got away with it. Emmett Till has never gotten justice. Medgar Evers' wife and his family has never really gotten full justice. Dr. King and his family has never really gotten any justice for the folks that took their lives. White men that have taken the lives of black people. So this is the history, the pain, the emotions that brought people to celebrate OJ Simpson winning in court, not because we were somehow 100% down with OJ Simpson. What I want to do before I play Stephen A. and the statements that he made around this issue is that I want to remind people, because we have Z generation, maybe millennials that were too young to remember all the details of this. As Stephen A. says, he's a double murderer and all that. This man was acquitted. And I'm not saying that because I'm saying, I'm not up here to convince anyone that OJ is innocent or he's guilty. That's for you watching this video tonight. And please share this video on all your social media. If you got a laptop, a desktop right now, or you're looking at me on your cell phone, just hit where it says share and send it to your Twitter, your Facebook right now. If you could, I would definitely appreciate that. Now, I'm not up here tonight in this reaction video because I have a few videos to show you tonight. I'm not here to convince you otherwise, other than to show you the evidence of what took place when he was acquitted. So remember, Johnny Cochran, this is the famous picture where Johnny Cochran, in the background, if you look to the far right, and you see OJ with the gloves, because they claimed that these were the gloves that OJ committed the crime of taking Nicole's life. That those were the gloves that this man wore in taking her life. And of course, there were rumors that Nicole Simpson and the women that she hung out with, that they were into using drugs. We heard audio of OJ being upset about what she was doing in the house around his kids. We heard him in a loud rage, which they used that also against him. But the fact of the matter is, the bloody gloves, as they called it, that Johnny Cochran made those famous words that if it does not fit, then you must acquit.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
And this was a key moment in the case as one of many reasons why he was acquitted. Now, people say acquitted doesn't mean that you're necessarily innocent. It just means that there's circumstantial evidence that does not prove your guilt. But either way, as Faizon Love, and I'm going to bring him up here very soon, as Faizon Love said in his outrage about Stephen A. Smith making the statements that he made, he said he was acquitted by the law, by the white laws, because certainly the laws in this country were created by white men who have governed this country under the control that they've had. So if you're going to be mad at the system that you guys created. You see, white people have never been able to get over OJ because white people were, for the most part, shocked that a black man could beat the system. It didn't matter if it was OJ, because remember, they loved OJ at one point in time. That's why OJ, as in what Jay-Z said in his album, that's why OJ had this ideology that I'm not black, I'm OJ. That's where it all comes from. I'm OJ. I'm going to coon and do what I have to do. Keep this in mind, because OJ was beloved by white folks, he began to be intoxicated by seeing himself as, I'm not a black man, I'm just OJ, I'm a man. But he got his wake-up call when white society was 100% against him. When he got acquitted of the double murder charges, black people, as I said before, were happy because of historical reasons, and white people were upset because they were traumatized that a black man would actually beat their own system and beat them at their own game, and that they had always been used to seeing black people pay the price in their legal system. And here you had a black man who had the money and the means to beat them at their own system and do it with mainly a black lawyer crew of people like Johnny Cochran. And I submit to you that just like the Civil War, in which white people in the South are still traumatized by losing the Civil War and seeing black people go free, that they felt were their property, OJ is the same thing. They see him as their property. How dare this property detach himself from us? How dare this property beat us in our own system? And as to what we have today is that we have many white people who are still traumatized to this very day and have never gotten over OJ Simpson because they feel that he committed the double murder and never have been able to accept the fact that he was acquitted, to the point that they want OJ Simpson to be internally imprisoned. The man is no longer here. He's passed away from cancer. What do you want us to do? Should we go and dig up his body and take his bones and remains and put the remains in a prison cell? What can you do? He's no longer in the third dimension. The only way they got OJ was through the civil trial. He was civilly liable, but he was never liable for the legal term called murder. He was never held for the murder, but simply was held under the civil case to be liable. And if you know anything about the law, you don't have to have a high level of evidence to be civilly sued. And you don't have to have a complete jury where everybody on the jury completely agrees that, yes, he's guilty. You only need a few people to go. So it's a lower level of burden. Now, OJ went to jail for really taking his own shit, his own property, because you had some sports memorabilia criminals in Las Vegas who were selling his stuff. So he called himself getting his boys, going into a hotel room, and you know that you heard the audio. Don't let nobody move. He stuck them up with guns. So he held them against their will, and he went to jail for that. That's what he went to prison for robbing individuals who actually robbed him of his memorabilia, his jerseys, all of the stuff that athletes tend to sign their name on and can make money off of, and all sort of things that they collect. That's what OJ went to prison for. And then he also was fined to pay damages to the Nicole Simpson family and Fred Goldman. Let me say here, this was a hell of a journey. I mean, this OJ Simpson trial was like a movie, y'all. I mean, it was like must-see TV back in the day. Must-see TV. And I want to put up Fred Goldman. Fred Goldman was also upset, just like Stephen A., that BET Award would give OJ Simpson an honorable mention when there was a slideshow where they showed different people. It wasn't centered around OJ. This is about celebrating OJ. Yes, people didn't like it. Yes, there were people who had no problem with it. But let me say something. Fred Goldman, the father of Ron Goldman, he wasn't happy with the situation, so he criticized BET, as you may know. But I just want to remind people, BET is not black owned. Robert Johnson sold it years ago, originally to Viacom, the Viacom company that had Viacom Cable. And currently, BET is owned by Paramount. And they're in a situation where they're trying to sell right now. Paramount revisits a BET sale discussion with new $1.7 billion offer from Scott Mills. Scott Mills is a black man. CC Capital. BET sale conversation resumes between Paramount Global and potentially potential buyers group, including the company current CEO, Scott Mills. So my question and my argument tonight is that Ron Goldman should be mad at his own people for doing this, because the buck stops with the people who own BET, which is Paramount. Paramount is a company that's owned by white folks. Now, whose entertainment holdings include CBS? Check now. Paramount's holdings include CBS, MTV, Nickelodeon, Hollywood Studios, has once again turned its attention to trying to sell BET. Last December, Bloomberg report that the investment group fronted by Mills and Chu were prepared to pay just under $2 billion for BET. Tyler Perry, the actor and the filmmaker who has invested in BET streaming services, also reported talks with Paramount about buying an ownership stake in the cable company. The truth of the matter is, BET is not black owned, y'all. So my argument is that Ron Goldman is upset with BET, and by being upset with BET, he's actually should be upset with his own people, because it was white people who actually own BET under Paramount that he should give his grievances towards Paramount. Your own people, Fred Goldman, are the ones who decided to allow this ceremony to take place, because they could have easily at Paramount said, no, you can't put OJ up, because they own BET. BET is not black owned. It hasn't been black owned for a very, very long time. If you're with me, put sevens in the chat room. Let me know you're with me, where we're going here. See, let me remind you. Let's have a reaction video right now. Let's remind you. Here's OJ, and let me remind you of a couple of things that happened in this trial. Remember, this guy right here, Furman, and there was this whole thing about they said that they believed that Furman might have tampered with the evidence, might have did something to frame OJ. I'm not trying to make up anything here. I'm just showing you a clip of what happened in the trial. Here is a clip here. We're going to play it a couple of times. Here we go.
I only have one other question, Your Honor.
What was that, Mr.
Detective Furman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, did you hear him say, I evoke my Fifth Amendment privileges? If he did not do that, why would he evoke Fifth Amendment privileges? What do you think? Let me know in the chat room. Let's play it again. This is Mark Furman, one of the detectives on the scene, who people believe that he never liked OJ when he came in contact with OJ in the past as it relates to Nicole, because they did have some domestic issues going on. And there's people who believe that he planted something, that they were handling the evidence in an improper manner. But why would this man have to evoke the fifth, plead the fifth? If you didn't do it, you would just simply say, I never did it. Play again.
I only have one other question, Your Honor.
What was that, Mr.
Detective Furman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
I only have one other question, Your Honor.
What was that, Mr.
Detective Furman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. He asserts his Fifth Amendment. So I'm just giving you food for thought. This man made himself look as guilty as the defense team was trying to paint him out to be. let's remember, you had that key moment and you had this key moment right here where the gloves did not fit. And he did this on display in the courtroom and they did not fit. That's 2. 3, it all came down to this moment right here, everybody. It all came down to this moment right here. Listen up.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson.
They found him not guilty under a felony of harm against Nicole Simpson. And let's hear the rest.
Human being as charged in count 1 of the information. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Ronald Lyle Goldman.
So he was found innocent. I'm playing this all out because I'm going to get to Stephen A. Smith's statement because of all the things that he said. You need to have a little bit of background here. So as you can hear, he was acquitted or he was found not guilty of this double murder, even though people say they believe he's a double murderer. You have the right to believe what you want to believe. There's your belief, and then there's what the courtrooms and the laws, as Faizon Love said, white laws, Negro, to Stephen A. Smith. Let's continue.
A human being as charged in count 2 of the information.
All right.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being as charged in count 1 of the information. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Ronald Lyle Goldman, a human being as charged in count 2 of the information.
Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, you saw the smile of those folks on those B-roll videos. That's the smile that black people had, mainly because, as I said before, of the history of how the courtroom and the justice system or the injustice system did not work in our favor. Now, it's still up to you to have your own opinion as to what you think would happen. But the fact of the matter is there's opinions and then there's law and then there's facts and then there's lies. This is exactly what took place in that trial that hurt the prosecution because they had a police and Mark Furman, our detective, who seemed to be corrupt. They had what they felt was blood evidence on a glove that they felt that OJ wore, yet it didn't fit. And as a result, as Johnny Cochran said, you must acquit. This is what happened, not.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
It's not what I'm making up. It's exactly what happened in history. So with that said, let's go on and hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say as he felt outraged. But before you hear, let's just go here and hear what he had to say, because I've got another video that I want you to hear from Stephen A. Smith. And let's react, y'all. Let's go right ahead. And here we go.
Yes, he ultimately was convicted in a civil trial and obliged to pay $33.5 million to the Goldman family, which he never really did till the day he died. Never happened. But we all viewed him as a double murderer. He was out.
So therefore, yes, everybody viewed him as a double murderer, but he was also acquitted of the charges. And many people believe it was because the prosecution sort of screwed up their case. I forgot to mention that there was also information that was put out there that you had detectives walking around with a vial of blood that was not properly, through the chain of custody and evidence, wasn't properly handled and stored, that the man literally had it in his pocket, damn near going home with it. That could be tampered when it comes out of the chain of custody. Let's just remember that. See, these are the things that Stephen A. Smith is not talking about as he's frustrated about this situation.
Ostracized and considered a pariah by the vast majority of American citizens. Why? Because regardless of what people want us to believe, unlike most situations, unfortunately, we saw the trial. And yeah, the glove didn't fit, so you must acquit. And the late, great Johnny Cochran pulled that off. And I've had Carl Douglas, the famed attorney working on Johnny Cochran's team during the OJ trial, on this show on a few occasions.
Right. See, what Stephen A. Smith is attempting to do now is that he says this, that Johnny Cochran pulled that off. No, it wasn't. He's making it sound like he tricked everybody. You see, you have to listen to language. People can be slick. Stephen A. Smith is very slick with language. He runs his mouth on ESPN every day. No, Johnny Cochran didn't pull anything off. It was a fact. It was a fact that OJ tried the gloves on. They did not fit for what they were claiming that he was able to do with saying that these are the gloves that he wore. They said that these were gloves that he purchased, the Bruno, whatever gloves they were called, that they were claiming that these were his personal gloves. This man has big hands. If you ever seen OJ in real life, this man has big hands. Why would he buy gloves that were his personal gloves that did not fit him? He put them on for everybody to see in the courtroom, and they did not fit. So it wasn't Johnny Cochran pulling something off. It was the evidence that was put out there for everyone to see. He tried the gloves on. They did not fit. Everybody saw it. And you know who most importantly witnessed it? The most important people that need to see this? It was the jury that needed to see it. And it was the jury within that justice at that time that saw what they saw, which helped them to come to their conclusion in the first place. I just want to add that. Once again, people can believe what they want to believe, but there's your belief, my belief, what Stephen A. Smith believes, and then there's what the law determined in that case, the murder case. Let's continue.
And he talked about the preponderance of evidence that validated a civil suit against OJ Simpson, but not necessarily a criminal suit, because there were holes in the argument.
So
that were
what he's also doing is saying is that he's also mentioning that there's a lawyer, I forgot the other brother's name, who was involved in the case. And this man has come on Stephen A's show a few times. But Stephen A. Smith is almost trying to make it sound like that this brother confessed to him on his show that, yeah, OJ was guilty. He never confessed any of that. He just comes on Stephen A. Smith's show from time to time and talks about law. But Stephen A. Smith wants to conflate it as if the brother spilled some beans to him. You see? Let's go on.
By the LAPD and beyond, basically going out of their way to ensure that a person that was guilty in their eyes would be convicted, and it backfired on them. We know that story.
Yeah, we know the story.
But in the end, Nicole Brown Simpson is gone. Ron Goldman is gone. The Brown family rather, is still around. The Goldman family, Fred Goldman, who I've always had a strong level of sympathy for, is still around. And you're OJ Simpson. I know this is not popular to say. And two of my boys, because I love Mace and I love Cameron, and I know what respect they have for.
Now, when he talks about Mace and Cameron, when Stephen A. Smith made the statements that he made on his podcast, Cameron did his own little protest, which was this right here. Cameron rocks an OJ Simpson helmet, jersey after Stephen A. Smith slams BET Awards for including him in one of their honor ceremony. So he walked through, looks like he's in Vegas somewhere. He has the whole OJ Simpson getup as part of his protest to what Stephen A. Smith said. And I will get to Faizon Love very soon, because he went in on Stephen A. Smith about this issue as well. Let's continue.
OJ, I'm not casting any aspersions on anybody like that. They have their relationship with them, and that's their business. More power to them. My attitude is this. OJ Simpson never gave a shit about black people until he was indicted. Never gave a damn. You know?
Now, Stephen A. Smith, in a lot of ways, he's not lying about this part. OJ Simpson never really would be what we would call he wasn't a Jim Brown, a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a Bill Russell. He didn't come together with any of those brothers protesting against racism, against segregation, or just against what was happening to black people. He never got himself involved in any political movements that had to do with the struggles that black people were going through, even though this man came from the hood of Potrero Hill in San Francisco. Now, I do know this for a fact, that there was a community recreation center in Potrero Hill, and OJ would go there every year, pay visits. He would give them money and support for this community recreation center that was snap dab in the community of Potrero Hill. I know this for a fact because when I used to hang out in that area as a kid with friends that I knew from that neighborhood, I would actually go to that center. And you would see pictures of OJ all around the wall, and you would also see OJ coming and visiting from time to time. A lot of people don't know about that, going back to his old neighborhood. However, and as he got popular and started doing movies and commercials and really being embraced by white society, because why? Because OJ didn't try to buck the system. He didn't try to become radical. He wasn't into the Black Power type movement, and he wasn't saying anything that made white people feel uncomfortable until they believed that he took the life of two white people. And when he was able to get off on it, they were angry that this black man or that black man that they once loved was able to get off on it, and it has traumatized, I believe, white folks all these years to the point that I think they damn near want to dig up his body out of the grave and incarcerate his bones or something. What do you all think? What do you all think in there?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
So Stephen A. Smith is right. He didn't really show, that he wasn't really active in black issues. But as I said earlier in this program, this is not why black people sort of wrap themselves around the OJ Simpson issue because we saw him as a black leader or a brother that was down. We simply saw him as beating the system, and we had never beaten the system. And that's what black people were cheering about. And that's the area that it gets lost in this whole thing. And yes, you don't want to see people lose their life, but check this out. I'm not saying it's a tee off here, but the facts are the facts. Black people were killed by many white folks in this society, and those white men never were brought to justice when it came to Emmett Till. White people were never brought to justice when it came to Rosewood, and white folks were never brought to justice for burning down and destroying a place like Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we have two living survivors, Miss Fletcher and Miss Randolph, who can't get reparations, and the Oklahoma Supreme Court has turned them down. That's the history that makes black people frustrated and say, you know what? I support OJ in this way, that he beat the system. That's what they're supporting. Let's continue.
You look at Jay-Z's album, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. That was what OJ said. I ain't black, I'm OJ. Never gave a damn. Never gave a damn about black folks until he was indicted on murder charges.
Right.
Never gave a damn about black folks until he was ostracized by and large.
And guess what? Nobody's arguing that point, Stephen A. Nobody is arguing that point, but we can make an argument that you don't give a damn about black people. You talk about black people on your sports show and on your podcast like a dog all the time. And your behavior appears coonish to many of us. And I do mean many black people. And the thing that you did not get, which was the memo, somehow Stephen A. has forgotten or have not seen the memo in which black people don't see him as our spokesperson. We don't really want to hear from you. We didn't really need you to start bringing up the situation with Will Smith and that whole situation with him slapping Chris Rock. We didn't need you to bring that all up, but you keep bringing polarizing issues up that for the most part, we've all moved on. When it comes to OJ, for black people, most of us have moved on from that, whether we find him guilty or not. White society hasn't moved on from it or has not been able to cope with it. And all you're simply doing is pandering to your white audience or to white society because you want to get what I would call your butter biscuits, okay? Your butter biscuits. Just like that. See, they go to butter biscuits right there. That's what you give raccoons, butter biscuits. That's what I think is going on with Stephen A. He's trying to appeal to a certain audience, but then wants to turn around every now and then and talk like he's for black folks. Let's go back.
By society as a whole. Never gave a damn. And it just amazes me how we would sit up there and I'm looking at it, forget the fact that in memoriam he was celebrated, he was mentioned.
Right, he was mentioned. Let me take this off the screen. Yeah, OJ was mentioned, but let's confirm something. He was mentioned, but the whole ceremony was not wrapped around OJ. OJ was not the main person of focus. I understand how people feel about OJ, whether you feel he's guilty or not. I'm not here to argue that. I simply presented a few clips of what happened in the trial that everybody has read about and everyone's aware of, in terms of the gloves, in terms of the fact that you had Mark Furman, the police officer who seemed to be corrupt, the fact that they were messing around with evidence, with blood evidence that was not properly stored or handled through the chain of evidence that police are supposed to follow. That's all we're simply saying. That's all I'm simply saying. That's it. Everyone can make their own opinion. Ron Goldman is not happy. He has every right to feel unhappy about that situation, that his son did not get the justice that he felt he should have gotten. And he's also, like I said, mad at Paramount is the one that owns BET, and Paramount is owned by white people. So he needs to go and talk to the white people who run Paramount and say, why did you allow this ceremony or this mention, this honorable mention of a man that I feel took my son's life? We're talking about Fred Goldman and how he felt about it. And Stephen A., he's always willing to buck dance. He's always willing to shuck and jive, and while always willing to throw black people under the bus. This man will defend other people who do not look like us, who have done some things that are nasty in this society, and he finds an excuse for them, but always finds a reason to punch down on black folks. Let me show you this video. Stephen A. Check this out. Hang on for a minute. I'm going to put this back up, and I'm going to, there we go. Let's put this up here. Stop it right there. Let me let you all hear what he is saying right here. Check this out. Here's Stephen A. some years ago making more mention about OJ.
Somebody that I believe doesn't only deserve to be in jail, he deserved to be under the jail. This man, as far as I'm concerned, is a double murderer. He's somebody that should never, ever, ever see freedom again. In the eyes of most people, regardless of an acquittal, OJ Simpson is a double murderer.
So once again, saying that he's a double murderer. He was tried as a double murderer.
We all viewed him as a double murderer.
I'm very, very fond of Jerry Jones, and I'm not hiding that from anybody. But I'm pissed off because he doesn't deserve what just happened. He doesn't deserve it. You're going to bring up a picture of Jerry Jones standing at this protest. No question, what was happening is not something that anybody as a black person should be appreciative about. We had 6.
I'm going to tell the truth right now about Stephen A.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Stephen A. is setting up there defending Jerry Jones, while at the same time being outraged over BET doing an honor ceremony, not just for OJ Simpson, but for other people. He has no problem bringing up the past of OJ Simpson, even though the man is not even alive anymore, or he's not in the third dimension anymore. But yet, Jerry Jones, the owner of the, how many of y'all remember this? I did a video on this on the Information Man show, my first channel, put 7s in the chat room if you remember this. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, was caught on picture right there to the right, where he was going to he went to a high school where they were picking on black kids trying to go to school. There was a mob, or I call it a mob, of white kids, white students that were standing outside the school trying to keep these 2 black kids you see to the far right from getting into school. Let's give you a bigger picture here. There you go. There go Jerry Jones. There's 2 black kids. They're not looking kind. And we're talking about, this is back in the 50s. We're talking about way back in the day. Jerry Jones sat up there and told black America and told people across the board that he was just curious on that day, that he was just curious George. No, Jerry Jones is lying to us about his involvement in keeping black students from going to his school. But Stephen A. told us that that should have never been brought out, that we should never ask the question of what he was doing there and what was his intentions against these black students you see right here. So he's telling everybody that shouldn't be brought up. Why are we talking about that? Stop it. Things of that nature. Okay? Again.
You're going to bring up a picture of Jerry Jones standing at this protest. No question, what was happening is not something that anybody as a black person should be appreciative of.
Right. So you admit, Stephen A., that it's something that no black person should be happy about, but you said out of your own mouth that why are people bringing it up? And then you would be the one that would say, if somebody was to say to you, why are you bringing OJ up? You would say, well, because OJ is a double murderer. But Jerry Jones is caught on a picture that shows that he was very much involved in keeping black students, black people, black young men from getting into school. And you want to say, well, no one is saying it wasn't a horrific time for black people, but why are we bringing it up? You tried to minimize it and run interference for your paymaster because you got this coonish thing going on, and I got to be honest.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
But you have no problem defending a man who sat up there, and when he was asked to give an explanation, his explanation is that he was just curious. Damn it, he might have been involved in keeping those young black men from going to school. Here's another clip when this was put out. Whoa, so Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was one of the bullies trying to stop black classmates from desegregating Central High in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957, okay? And Stephen A. Smith tried to tell you and me that that's something that we shouldn't want to know about. He's crazy. He's out of his mind. And once again, he minimizes what Jerry Jones does and tells everybody we shouldn't even be talking about it. That we shouldn't even be having a conversation about it. I find that outrageous. I find that he's running interference.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
He's running interference for his paymasters. Again.
You're going to bring up a picture of Jerry Jones standing at this protest. No question, what was happening is not something that anybody as a black person should be appreciative about. We had 6 students at that particular North Little Rock High School that was trying to desegregate.
Right there. But Stephen A., you originally started by saying nobody should have brought it up. Again.
The school.
No one should be okay with it.
Nobody should be okay with that.
Regardless of
We
race.
understand that. We get all of that. But you're going to bring up a photo of him when he was 14, 15.
It doesn't matter if he was 14 or 15 because you had white kids in those days that were just as racist as their parents, and they would call black kids the N-word, and they also would attack black young people. They were just as racist as their parents. It was a way of life. And here he is minimizing and telling you and me that we shouldn't demand an explanation from the Dallas Cowboy owner, Jerry Jones, who, when he did talk, simply said, "I was curious, George."
18 years old. If he was 30, 35, 40 years old, that's different.
Right.
14, 15 years old.
See the excuses that he makes? You see the excuses?
14, 15 years old. Born and raised in the South. To say, you know something?
Yeah.
You ain't hire a black coach. I think that's pretty low. He's hearing that black folks find him relatable because what he's going through is similar to what black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. When you see the law enforcement, the court system, and everything else being exercised against him, it is something that black folks throughout this nation can relate to.
So now Stephen A. Smith is trying to compare. I'm playing this for a reason, y'all. If you're with me, put 7s in the chat room. So now Stephen A. Smith is trying to compare Donald Trump, who's had privilege all of his life, the same Donald Trump who did everything he could to see if he could get those 5 black youngsters. I think it was 4 black youngsters and 1 Puerto Rican cat that were accused of sexual misconduct towards a woman who went to jail, who got charges chumped against him, and Donald Trump ran ads in New York. He did everything he could, said he wanted them to get the death penalty. And to this very day, when they have been found guilty of everything, Donald Trump has never come out publicly and apologized. We're talking about the same Donald Trump who engaged in housing discrimination against black people and other people in buildings that him and his father owned, Fred Trump, who also was affiliated with the Klan, was clashing against the police in 1921 in defending the Ku Klux Klan in New York. And this is where Trump got this stuff from. We're talking about the same Donald Trump that when he had a casino in Atlantic City, how do you bankrupt a casino? he treated black people were never front and center in his casino. There's people that have come out and talked about the discrimination of Trump. And now you're telling me that Trump is in comparison to black people because he's got a mugshot, because he went to court, because they're trying to bring him under, they brought him under some indictments. And all that has happened to Trump is that he's had to go to court. He's been indicted. He's been accused and indicted and went to a trial. And what's going on with Trump right now? He's running for president. He's not in a jail cell. Just because he has a mugshot, you're saying that black people can relate to that because of our issues with the penal system? By saying that, you're saying that all black people can relate to it because we're all criminals, or that we all are entangled with the legal system, or that Trump is on the same level with us, that when black people deal with the legal system, we go to jail. We go to prison. We lose our jobs, our families, and our freedom. This man got indicted, went to court in New York. He's walking around free, and he's able to run for president of the United States. How can you make a comparison? And then you want to sit up here and wonder why black people got excited over OJ Simpson winning his case, because we know how the law has been stacked against us. And here we are in the 21st century where Donald Trump gets indicted. He gets found guilty as a felon and he can run for president, and he's not sitting in a jail cell. So he took a stupid photo. That doesn't mean any comparison to how black people have been jacked around in the legal system in this country. I must tell the truth.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
How dare Stephen A. And see, Stephen A. is willing to defend Jerry Jones's BS, and now he's willing to defend Trump by making a comparison to Trump with black people. This is Stephen A. Smith. Okay? This is why Faizon Love went off on him, and I'm going to play that very, very soon. Unbelievable how Stephen A. bucks and dances for the cornbread, for the butter biscuits, and just continues the buck dance for the butter biscuits. Let's continue here. Wow, man. Something else.
With some of our historic, iconic figures. We've seen that happen throughout society.
Now, he's now trying to make a comparison to the historical figures that were black who actually went to jail. Do you know Dr. King was put in jail? Trump hasn't even been put in a prison or a jail cell. But Dr. King, who was protesting and marching for freedom, Dr. King has a mugshot, but this is the difference. Dr. King was fighting for the rights of black people, civil rights. And he ended up getting put in jail, got a mugshot, was put in jail. Even Rosa Parks got a mugshot and was put in jail as well. Donald Trump got a mugshot, but was never and has never been put in jail as of right now. And he's running for president of these United States. Tell me right now in the chat room, how many felons do you know right now are able to run or even work at a job when you have a felon? But this man can run for president. And Stephen A. is defending him. But he has no problem having smoke for OJ Simpson, who I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. But what I'm saying is the man's not even in the third dimension anymore. The man's not living. You can't do anything to OJ. What's the point? He's not living. BET, along with other people, gave him an honorable mention. They didn't make a big ass production around OJ. They put this picture up on the screen like they did everybody else. And that's it. People that had passed away. That's it. But nah, Stephen A. Smith, he has no problem with pushing these narratives.
So no matter what race, what ethnicity you may emanate from, we relate to you when you're suffering like that because we know we have.
Because he says, because we know we have. So this is the crazy thing about it right here. Let me play this. I want to show y'all something. So remember I said that Cameron and Mace, they have a podcast on YouTube. And Cameron wore this outfit in honor of OJ as a protest, I believe, to what Stephen A. Smith says. And Stephen A. Smith goes on his podcast about how they're good friends of his. You know, these guys, it's funny how these guys claim everybody's their friend. It's just a bunch of talk. But let me let y'all see something that I found interesting. Check this out. So there's Faizon Love. I'm going to play the audio on the other clip, but there, I want you to look at Cameron walking through the casino with the OJ Simpson jersey, helmet, the whole damn outfit on as part of his own personal protest. So just look at that. I'm going to play the audio of Faizon in just a minute. Let's check that out. And let's get to the audio of Faizon right now. And here we go.
Man, I don't know. Where do you niggas come from?
Let me play. I think I need to move it back. And let's start right now. Let's react.
Stephen A. Smith, man. I don't know. Where do you niggas come from? Do they groom you niggas? Where the fuck do you come from? You mad because BET is celebrating OJ? Who else gonna celebrate him? Are you fucking stupid? He was found innocent, nigga. In the court of laws, the white laws.
Boom. This is key right here. Faizon Love made a key statement there that OJ was found innocent in the court of law. In this case, as Faizon Love said, he was found innocent under the laws that are white laws because the laws in this country were created by white men primarily for white men to benefit. It never was created. The justice, they say justice is blind. The lady justice is blind, but the justice system in this country, Stephen A., you knucklehead, and I mean it, you're a real knucklehead, was never really created for black men in particular. And Faizon Love is completely correct in his assessment. Let's get back to it.
But your dick nose is gonna go on talking about how, are you crazy? You would have did this, you would have did that.
Now, what Faizon Love is talking about is that Stephen A. Smith went on in his podcast talking about how if he was at the BET Awards and they presented this, that he would have got up and said something, he would have did something, that he would have made things right and what have you. That's why Faizon is saying what he's saying to y'all right now. I mean, to me, it's really crazy, okay? I mean, it's got the audience thinking like, wow, is this Negro crazy? I mean, what's going on? I mean, you have to laugh to keep from crying. You know what I'm saying, everybody? Let's continue.
Where the fuck do you niggas come from? Where the fuck do you niggas come from? I've never seen some lazy house niggas shit. You ain't even a house nigga. You the nigga that's sucking the house niggas dick.
Who?
Who the fuck are you niggas?
Could it be like Kendrick Lamar said, they're not like us? Could it be that they're not like us, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think? Let's take a vote in the chat room. Do you think that Faizon Love is telling the truth here? That he's making a good point, although he's really saying he's really, cussing up a storm and calling him you're not only the house Negro, but you're the one that sucks the house. You know what I mean? Do you think that he's telling the truth in his outrage over Stephen A. Smith? And I already showed you videos how Stephen A. Smith is willing to stick up for other people. And I'm not saying that anybody has to say that OJ Simpson is innocent. I'm not saying that you have to believe that he's innocent. But at the same time, the man's not here anymore. What are we going to do? Should we go dig up his body, take his bones out of his coffin? The man died of pancreatic cancer, I believe. Take his bones out of his casket, put it in a box, and then put it in a prison somewhere and put it in a hole. What do you want people to do? And particularly white society can't get over OJ. It's almost like they couldn't never get over the Civil War and losing the Civil War in the South.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
What do you want us to do? What's going on, everybody in the chat room? I appreciate everybody that's here. What do you want us to do? FBA for life. What do you want? What do y'all want? What do you think should be done? There's nothing we can do. He was acquitted of the charges for the situation with Nicole. I know people are upset. People have the right to feel the way they feel, but how much more do we need to keep this whole thing going? I'm going to say again, you've had black people's lives that were taken over a number of years by white mobs. And I don't hear anybody to this day saying they got to pay. You have 2 black women alive who are survivors of the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. They were kids. They survived. They can't get the local courts to give them reparations. They can't get the Supreme Court to give them reparations because their whole community was destroyed. They had bombs put on it. Where's the sympathy for that? I haven't seen Stephen A. Smith do a podcast where he's talked about Viola Fletcher or Miss Randall and how they haven't gotten justice for what happened to them. I don't see him get outraged over things that happen to black people. I'm talking about stuff that happened to black people recently and in the past. Go on, Faizon Love. Go on, man. Keep it going. Keep it going.
You ain't even a house nigga. You the nigga that's sucking the house niggas' dick. Who the fuck are you niggas? That's what Kendrick's talking about. They are not like us. They are not like you.
You are not like us.
Fuck you on talking about OJ. Nigga, are you crazy? Who the fuck are you niggas? That's
not
what
like
Kendrick's
us.
talking about. They are not like us.
Not.
They
like
are not
us.
like you.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Fuck you on talking about OJ. Nigga, are you crazy?
Not like us. Not like us. Not like us. I want to say right now, I want to thank everybody that's here. I've got Harlem Hell Fighters, which that is a historical military outfit of black men during, if I'm not mistaken, during World War I who are responsible for we just had 4th of July, right? The Harlem Hellfighters are responsible for all the rights and freedoms that you're enjoying today, along with the Tuskegee Airmen. And to the brother who's just come in with the Harlem Hellfighters, giving me the $5 super chat, which I really appreciate. Have you heard of the Triple Nickel? The Triple Nickel was an all-black parachute troop. They were the brothers that would jump out the planes with the parachute. I think some of them were probably Harlem. I think some of them were Harlem Hellfighters. They would jump out the plane, land on the ground with their weapons, and pow, 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 pow. Take out the enemy forces just like that. They were powerful.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
From Harlem Hellfighters, I like what Faizon said, but we cannot forget Faizon and the other who said some off code stuff also. Right. No, look. We know, just keep this in mind. Faizon is a celebrity, right? He's a comedian. So we know that some of these entertainers have their moments when they say some off the hook stuff that's not right. They say some coonish stuff as well, right? They all have their moments when they can say some things that's very coonish, right? Let's be honest. And then they have their moments when they say some things that's on point. But I think that on this issue, let me know if you think that he was on point. Dave said this. They didn't see combat, though. Who didn't see combat? You talking about the Triple Nickel? We got Miss Hall in the house who says he is a paid puppet just like the rest. I would not deny what you're saying, my sister.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
A lot of them are paid puppets when they get into that entertainment game, that Hollywood game. You're right about that. Let's see here. Let's see here. On point. Mike B says on point. Okay. Rosewood, Tulsa Massacre. That's right. Sugar Love is coming in the house. She says, hello, everyone. Check out Sugar Love's channel. She got a great channel as well. We got Matt F, who says they're not like us.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
And I'm going to tell it. That's right. Cam is in the house. Thank you for coming over. We got FBA for life that's in the house. Thank you for coming over. OJ was cremated. Okay. So if OJ was cremated, thank you for that reminder. Then what should we do? Should we find his ashes and put it in an urn and put the urn in a prison behind thick walls? What are we supposed to do? Matt F said this: Trump will pardon Diddy and Drake, and man, I don't know. Let me see who else we got here. Now, I appreciate you all coming over tonight. Let me make sure I didn't leave anything else out of my presentation tonight before I get ready to end this, this program tonight. I should be live again Saturday evening as well with another topic or something of that nature. But wow, this was something else with Faizon. This is something else.
Where the fuck do you niggas come from? Where the fuck do you niggas come from? I've never seen some lazy house nigga shit. You ain't even a house nigga. You the nigga that's sucking the
Oh my God. Woo. Woo, woo, woo. And she's blown away by what she heard him say too. Woo. Boy, 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 everybody. So, yeah, that's the situation. You know, if you like the program tonight, we're going to be doing more polarizing topics like this. Make sure, let me say this to you. Thank you for watching tonight. I really appreciate that so much.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm
Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you make a comment.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
And I truly appreciate the support that we're getting over here and everything like that. If you want more videos like this, live streams and uploads, definitely make sure you subscribe to this channel. Tell people about the channel. This used to be the Information Man Speaks podcast channel. I've rebranded the channel. It is now Info Media Reacts. We'll be reacting to any type of topic over here that happens in social media, happens in politics, happens in celebrity type stuff, sports, anything that is worthy of reacting to and getting your input on. We'll be doing that over here. On my other channel, The Information Man Show, I still will be going live on that channel on Sundays. I'll be bringing a hot button topic over there on this upcoming Sunday and continuing hot button topics on this channel with a different format. So I really hope you appreciate that, everybody.
Tell the truth.
Once again, I want to remind everybody that Fred Goldman was very upset about BET presenting OJ, but he also needs to really contact Paramount. Paramount is the one that owns BET, and we know that Paramount is run mainly by white folks. He should be running to his own people to make his argument to them for why they allowed OJ to be displayed like this at the BET Awards. And remember, as I said earlier in the show, once again, Paramount is revisiting the idea of selling BET. There was a rumor that Tyler Perry was going to buy it. Allen, what's that brother that owns the Weather Channel? Byron Allen was going to buy it. Some kind of way they've been sort of like trying to push away from him. And right now, there's another brother by the name of Scott Mills who's trying to buy it. So they're trying to sell it, but it's been under the control of white folks. So Stephen A. as well, why don't you, as you're angry about them presenting OJ, why don't you also criticize Paramount? You criticize BET, right? But why don't you criticize the white folks that run Paramount? Paramount, because it's Paramount that owns BET. They could have told them black folks that's, you know, running the show, but white folks are the ones that own the whole damn thing. They could have told them, y'all can't put no OJ on the screen and give him any type of honor, whether it be high or low. But you notice Stephen A. had a lot of smoke for BET, but no smoke for the white folks behind BET who actually own it and run it. That's Paramount. And I read this to you earlier right now. Paramount is under control CBS. They control MTV, Nickelodeon, Hollywood Studios. And they're trying to sell and get rid of BET. Paramount, $3 billion asking price. They're asking for $3 billion for BET. Robert Johnson unloaded BET years ago and sold it for $1 billion or something of that nature to Viacom at one time. And even when you look at the board, you have some black people on the board of BET, but you had white people on the board of BET. So when you're going to make your criticism, you better also shoot your shot, not only at black people, but the white folks that are behind it, who are putting out the money for the production. That's all I'm saying, Stephen A. and everybody else listening. You got so much smoke for black folks, but you don't have smoke for other folks. Just like you were setting up here, buck dancing for Jerry Jones, who was caught on picture involved in keeping black kids from getting in school. Back in 1957, Jerry Jones was one of the bullies trying to stop black classmates from getting into school, and you had the nerve on First Takes to say we shouldn't even be talking about this issue.
Best. No question, what was happening is not something that anybody as a black person should be appreciative about. We had 6 students at that particular North Little Rock High School that was trying to desegregate the school.
No one should be okay with it.
Nobody should be okay with that.
Regardless of
We
race.
understand that. We get all of that. But you're going to bring up a photo of him when he was 14, 15 years old.
Boom, you see? Makes excuses for Jerry Jones when everybody knows you had white folks that were racist as teenagers, as kids. It didn't matter. They were in a power dynamic situation over us. And again, black people supported OJ only because we were happy with the verdict due to what has happened to us historically in this country. That's why, not because we were great fans of OJ, that we saw OJ as some black power leader. No, man. That's what a lot of people fail to understand when they still can't wrap their head over why black people were supporting him at that time. They were not supporting OJ, the physical man. They were supporting the idea of a black person beating the system. It just so happens that it was OJ, you see. Well, everybody, I'll be back with more presentation. I appreciate everybody for listening, for being here today. You all, how can I say it? Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Tell somebody that you love them. And Info Media Reacts. We'll be back with more. Peace. Take care.